frightened, or they might be, they might not have that hope, right? Because things can look very bleak, and we remember the bleak days, and there were
Yes.
many bleak days, but we got through them. And so
Yeah.
that's what's important, getting through them, with hope in your heart, with a smile on your face, and staying blessed, and understanding that, you are being carried, and you have it in you. You have that resilient strength in you, and you just have to remember that every day as you go about your journey. So
Yeah.
we want ladies to join the community so that we can do that. Welcome to the Resilient Mother podcast. Let me get some lights. Yay. Okay. Welcome to the Resilient Mother podcast. I am Catherine Tyson Soil. I am one of the hosts, Ms. Tiffany Lorraine Galloway, who is my trusty, amazing creator of this wonderful forum for women, has invited me and entrusted me with with this task of just sitting next to her, and I'm so happy about that. Thank you. And what we try to do every week is just bring really amazing women with amazing stories to share with the audience, of amazing women who are out there and doing the thing, and doing what you need to do to be there for your children and for the community at large. Today, our guest, Ms. Patricia Bryan, thank you for joining us. Thank you so much, Patricia. You and I go very, very way back.
Thank you for having me, ladies. Yes, we do.
I don't think we were wearing glasses.
Definitely no. I know I wasn't.
That tells you, right? So, and you've always been such an amazing woman. A great gal, first of all, just a great human, and a single mother. And so that's where our paths kind of crossed, of being young, single mothers to our beautiful children that we wanted the best for. And we wanted to be able to present to society that they're in a good condition and society is better for it. Right. And I can say that you did it and I did that. And we applaud ourselves for that, because you have three amazing children, and I have three amazing young children.
Yes.
So, I really wanted to just bring that to the audience today, just because stories are very important, and we all have great stories and they deserve to be told. And there's someone out there who needs to hear it. So I call this being on this side of life, like 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I was on that side, but now I'm on this side, and it's like, wow. So please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and, some of your story and kind of, where you are right now.
All right. Well, I'm Patricia Bryan. I'm originally here from Grand Cayman in the beautiful, beautiful Cayman Islands.
Yes.
And I have three wonderful, blessed, healthy, successful, intelligent young adults. My youngest two that I'm partially responsible for, my son's 28 and my youngest daughter's 22. And I've been in the legal field for about almost 26 years now. And I am an aspiring attorney, partway there. And so I like to give back to the community in the areas of advocating for legislative changes and social issues, changing with social issues here in our islands, and by extension, some affecting, through avenues and our organizations worldwide. And, I been connected to Catherine for quite a number of years, and she's been very inspirational, motivational to me in different ways. And a lot of that has to do with us being passionate, Catherine, about some of the same social issues that affects women, children, senior citizens, and anything in those areas. And that's primarily where my focus is also in terms of the legal system and making sure that everyone have access to, or trying to advocate here in the Cayman Islands to make sure that everyone has access to legal advice and by extension legal services. And my other huge interest is human rights. As we see, the Cayman Islands have now evolved in such a way that human rights here in the Cayman Islands is becoming a major issue. There's been a growth of cases going through the legal system where people are more recognizing their rights. So that's basically a nutshell. I'm not married. I am single.
You have been.
Yes, and so I'm at a point in my life now where my kids are grown, and I'm just trying to dedicate myself to the things that I've always been passionate about in my heart, and to try to give those things back to the people of the Cayman Islands, especially my native and local people. So
yes,
that's me.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just like a fingernail full of you, because there's so much more. And Patricia's making reference to just living in the island, and basically, if you live in the island and you compare it to the progression in the U.S. for certain things, we could say that the islands is still a lot behind in some
We're
ways.
definitely behind.
You
Yes.
spent many years in the U.S. as you were, on your single parent journey, and you happened to go to school. You went to higher
Right.
education. You
And
achieved.
I took my two younger kids with me.
Right,
Yes.
right. So you were there, and also navigating the system while you were going to school as well. So
Right.
you
Absolutely.
graduated in university, and like you said, you're an aspiring attorney, and I have no
Right.
doubt that you will soon achieve that, because you are definitely a go-getter. And this month we're kind of focusing on resilient strength. So I think just what everything that you just said just kind of describes that for me, right? When
I
you
feel
come from when you come from a vulnerable place as a young single mother, that really, because I always say this, that as a single mother, and I had 3 children, I always tell people, when you have one kid, it's kind of cute, but when you have 3 children, like it's not that cute.
Absolutely.
Very serious, right? And so you have 3 whole people that you're responsible for, and 3 people that you're trying to navigate life with, right? And you're trying to figure out what this one needs and what that one needs. You have different personalities, different wants. And so the world is very different, and it's not as receptive to you as you would have thought that it would have been. So here you are trying to navigate the waters of life, and still, bouncing around, really trying to just hold it steady, because you have 3 people that are riding on you being okay so that they're okay.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And another thing I forgot to mention, like yourself, I too am a self-published author.
Right. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to
Okay.
that, because yes, I have that. I have that on my list of things that we're going to talk about, because that is a very, very important aspect, and it definitely talks about strength and talks about resilience. It talks about seeing a problem. You're talking about human rights. You're talking about fighting for women and children and families and the old people. It's kind of like being on the line and not just accepting whatever, and just saying, look, I might not be popular for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Right.
And I really love that. And so, I was just looking at it actually on Amazon, because I wanted to make sure that I quoted it properly. So the name of the book is It Isn't About the Money, the Real Reasons Behind Child Support. And, just very, 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 very interesting, because I think a lot of people do think it's about the money.
Yes.
And so I want you to talk a little bit. I'm going to read just one little piece that you have. An author's note. It says, this publication is written to provide insight and awareness into issues and concerns relating to child support and maintenance of children. Right. And so a lot of times people do think it's about the money. Tell us, where did that come from in you just making a decision that you were going to write a book like that? and speak to an issue that is worldwide. It transcends every single nation, color, creed. It is a universal issue when a man and a woman have created a child and they've separated, and that child or children still need to be taken care of. And a lot
Yeah.
of times they drop the ball.
Okay, so for me, it started. I have three children and three different fathers, and so I went through we call it maintenance and affiliation here in the Cayman Islands, but technically it's child support. And so I went through the court system for maintenance for my three children, and towards the end, with my two younger children, I realized that there was a discrepancy in the laws between legitimate and illegitimate children. So children that
Okay.
were born in wedlock and out of wedlock. And so, for example, my son, who's my middle child, the law obligated his father to pay child support, but the law did not state that he had the right to see his child. But my youngest daughter, who I was married to her father, I was going through a separation with him, and I discovered that by law, he had right to see his child as well as maintain the child, and also that he had to maintain that child up until she finished higher education or turned 25. So
Wow.
I didn't think that was fair to discriminate between the illegitimate and legitimate children. So
Right.
I advocated. I was working in the judicial system at that time, and I sought permission to start advocating, because when you're working with government, you can't just nilly-willy go and do what you want to do in the public. So I received that permission, and I started advocating. And then I had meetings, across the island, and my kids attended. I invited some female attorneys or aspiring attorneys to speak on my panel. And it was well received. And I also was able to apply and was accepted as an independent member representing the Cayman Islands to the International Child Support Organization based in the US. Wow. They were having their very first international meeting in Canada. And so I was able to secure donations on the ground, not any corporate donations or anything, just friends and family. And I secured a ticket and went over to Canada representing the Cayman Islands in that organization. And from the whole experience, from one point to the next and going over to Canada and seeing what it was like on such an international scale, I started doing a bit more research. And I've always been an avid reader, very, very avid reader. And I've always I've always had a few books, tucked away that I started writing, but just never got around to it. And so I started this story, and then I had a personal experience with someone close to me who had a lot of children and was going through that issue too. So everything just kind of came together at once, and I started making notes. And then I got this brilliant idea to say, hey, I want to write this book, because this isn't just about, let's say, non-custodial parents paying child support. I realized that people didn't realize how much paying child support went into a child's life. It wasn't just about a father paying money to the mother, or to, sometimes the court will order another person as a guardian of a child, and that child support has to go to that child. And through my research and going through the meetings and so forth, and going through this, and men were attending the meeting too, and speaking out, because I had maybe one or two that were custodial parents, and so that other personal experience. And so I decided I wanted to write a book, because I did a bit of research, and I said, I can't really find anything that speaks about what the money actually does. The money isn't just because you need to pay out money to financially support your child. That money, it should, and it does, not all the time, but the money should, and it does, go into the welfare and care and upbringing of the child on a whole. on a whole. So, a lot of people don't see it that way, especially unfortunately men, fathers that have to pay child support. So that's what spurned the idea for me, because I wanted to get that message out there that this isn't just about you dishing out your hard-earned money as you may think it
Yeah.
would be. It's
Yeah.
about making sure your child eats and has clothing, is taken care of, and helps to contribute towards shelter and welfare, and being able to enjoy a quality sense of life as much as possible with
Right.
your contribution also. So that's really where that came from.
And it's funny that you would say that because, obviously, I raised three children on my own, and we had been married. So we were married,
Right.
we separated, and we had three children together, thankfully. And I tell you, I talk to God and say, I don't want to deal with another baby father, because I'm so, thank you, Lord, because trust me, it's enough to deal with one.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and I remember what we decided. We sat down and we decided, because the whole court thing, and it just didn't work out. And we decided that he would give $800 a month for three kids, 800. And the court
Wow.
was deciding 1,200, which wasn't much more, but it was still more,
Right, more than he.
pretty much a couple $100 more that would have helped. But because of the breakdown in the relationship at that point, where it was almost like, I don't ever want to talk to you again. I don't want nothing to do with the kids. If you take that. And so I was like, nah, that's not worth it. The kids need their father, blah, blah, blah. I should have called a bluff, but I didn't. And so, I'm getting $800 a month. And when you're just talking about what men or people think that this money is doing, like, honestly, $800 sounds like a lot of money.
Nothing.
So, for three kids. Yeah. And then just look at now, I traveled back home at some point after I finished my first degree, and was working in the Cayman Islands, and that became $500 and I think like $34 or something.
Yes.
So just imagine $534 for three kids. I mean, technically it was their lunch money.
Yes.
That's it. It was lunch money for three kids per month. So when you think of what that money does, what's the rest of it?
Right.
What's happening to the roof over their head?
You as the custodial parent is responsible for all of that.
Exactly. So it's laughable when you think about people actually having rational conversations about $500 a month to take care of even a child, especially now that the economy is just in a very different place, where rent has gone up, mortgage interests have gone up,
everything has increased.
Yeah, I think it was a really good it was really good for you to take that on at that time. And I know you would have faced some controversy, so I feel like the strength that it took for you to do that was absolutely necessary, and it needed to be said, and it's not something that you stop talking about. Even though now you're on the other side of it, it's still very important for the ones that are in the midst of it, dealing with the economy that we're dealing with right now. You know what I mean?
Because what I forgot to include is that along the way, and this was back in 2004. So along the way, I managed to convince the opposition at the time, who were the PPM and now known as the Progressives. I managed to convince them to bring a motion to the Legislative Assembly.
That you're referring to. She's referring to a political party.
Political party, yes. Yes. And so they on my behalf brought a motion to the House, the Legislative Assembly at the time, now called the Parliament, and the motion was to change the distinction between legitimate and illegitimate children. And so that motion passed unanimously, and that was the beginning of the changes in legislation to start the differentiation between between our children, because our children shouldn't be responsible for those things. Every child deserves to be recognized and to be maintained and taken care of up until they deserve to have further education. If they decide not to, well, they still deserve up until 25. That distinction just needed to be removed. And every child father, I believe, should have access to their child, as long as it's as the father is is a healthy person.
Exactly.
And the atmosphere is a healthy atmosphere for the children when they're around that father,
Right.
So that was my gist. And so
That's great. I don't know if people know that. I don't know if people know that was something that you championed, So
yeah,
that's good. That's good. That's
I
good
don't
to
think
talk about that.
Yeah, I don't think too many people remember it. I know there's some people. There's about 3 members of our current parliamentary system that do remember, and I do have the supporting documents on my social media now, because someone
Yeah.
asked me what have you done, that what contribution have you made, if any. So
Good stuff. Good stuff.
I did it for me. I did it for you. I did it for any single parent that's here in the Cayman Islands, whether they're Caymanians or permanent residents, any
Absolutely.
resident, because we had people back then, which is the same now, that were moving to the island to work, and they had non-custodial parents that were overseas in another country. So it was all for one same purpose. It wasn't
Right.
just
Everybody would benefit. Everybody would benefit. No,
yes.
absolutely. And for the viewers or the listeners, what she's referring to is the Cayman Islands is still the British West Indies. So you're hearing a lot of very British terms, terminology.
Right. Oh, that's right. We're American.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're talking about the political, the kind of the political atmosphere, the
Right.
political backdrop, and how things are done and how things are changed, because it's a small place, so you still have the ability to talk to your politicians, your representatives, and they can carry motions to the House. And so any Americans listening, they're probably like, what is going on?
It's a similar system to America's, just that the verbiage is a bit different, but the American legal system is based off of the British common law system, but it's just changed up a bit. So that's why I like to use the word child support, because internationally that's what it's known as.
Because it's called maintenance in the Cayman Islands. Yes, and you go to maintenance court. I'm a social worker, so I've been to maintenance court a couple of times. I've had one of the judges, Judge Ramsey Hale. I think she is the chief
justice now. Yes,
she's justice now. But I remember when I was a young social worker, I would go to court, and she'd be giving those fathers a time. Take every dollar out of your pocket right now. Now, leave some money for these children.
She actually, and then we had Justice Levers, and Justice Henderson. They were very well known for enforcing the laws, and that also meant putting I can't remember the word right now, but putting holds on personal possession. So if you had assets, in order to get that,
like a lien.
Yes, a lien. Yes, or yes, or they took the property and sold it and paid that child support.
I remember. I think she should have been a comedian. She's a comedian in her other life, funny. But really taking it very serious and saying, I'm going to fight for the children. And people need to realize that children are whole human beings that need to be cared for, whether or not the adults in their life can't make it. That's neither here nor there. And whether or not they were married, there shouldn't be some distinction between, how this child is treated versus how this child is treated. If that's your child, that's your child.
Because Catherine, when you this was not an easy, like you said, resilience. You and I know what the word resilience means big time. So when you think about maintaining a child, you think about rent, utilities, groceries, gas to transport the child with you.
Absolutely.
I mean, all of those things have to be done, but then those things are also magnified when you have a child involved. And then the child needs personal items, school uniforms, lunch money. They want to do extracurricular. They may want to do sports or go to the movies or you buy clothes. It's such a huge thing. And when you're saying $500 for 3 children, and the $500 can only buy groceries, that was back then. Yes. $500 is for groceries for 2 weeks here in the Cayman Islands for one person like myself.
Right.
So resilience is we need another word for resilience for what us single parents have to
resilience. Go through. Resilience, I think mothers are the epitome of resilience anyway, because we just go about our life and go about our business doing what we have to do, not asking any questions, not not, not being a pitiful, not being a poor thing, and just being about what we have to do for our kids, and I think that it's very noble, but it's also something that we need to kind of create this union within ourselves to support one another as we champion certain causes, because we are dealing with the same things. So I always say women need to be more unified than we have been.
Yes.
I respect men in their unity so much. I respect that because I feel like men, they have a brotherhood, and we can talk about sisterhood as much as we want, but then we have this cattiness about each other, and we're the first one to tear each other down,
right.
and we're the first one to be jealous of each other, and we're trying to change that. We really want, especially with with this podcast, is we're trying to really build a community of support. So that people can kind of pull that from each other, and to really just stand shoulder to shoulder, because we're dealing with the same things every day. And so why not do that in solidarity, as opposed to in some sort of war or friction, and it makes no sense, making my life that much harder.
Yes, I agree. I absolutely agree. Yes.
Yeah. And so I know for you're now considering actually going into the world of politics, and I know you've always been on the cusp of that, right? Because like you said, very, very legal.
From the time I was about 28, I've been thinking about it. I think my mother was trying to mold me into that, because she was the one that was dragging me everywhere to all these political meetings. And
she's like that. You're right. You come from a political family, because your brother is actually, I will say, your brother is the deputy premier of the Cayman Islands. And everybody would remember him as the Minister of Tourism. The Honorable Minister Kenneth Bryan. And so you have been surrounded by politics for quite some time, just from that.
Pretty much my whole life.
Yes. So now you're thinking about, you are going to throw your hat in the ring, and we're going to unofficially almost announce you here on the Resilient Mother podcast. Please talk about it.
I'm still on the fence.
All right. Okay. So you're still on the fence.
But it is absolutely a very serious consideration.
Yes. And so I love that, because whether it happens or not, whether you do it or not, because my background.
No, I thought we were going to do this together.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to, because we need us. We need us. We representing the Cayman Islands need us. You and I and other women. We see it all over the world. Women are taking a bigger place in the administration of what's happening in the world, the political and the administrative or operations of everything.
Well, absolutely. Women need to be at the table. Women need to be at the decision-making table. And, coming from being a vulnerable single mother to being in this position where, you are standing, you didn't fail. You have three walking testimonies in your life that you can really be thankful to God that He's blessed you and blessed those children. I say that all the time, because that I'm walking with Him. I was never walking by myself.
Absolutely.
Because my story couldn't be this story without Him.
Yes.
So, just to really come from that, I think is amazing. And I love the fact that, you came on the show to talk about just resilient strength, because that really is kind of the epitome of it. And I'm just excited for your future also, because you've been doing this unofficially anyway for quite a long time.
Yeah. I was raised by a single mother of I can't remember how many kids my mom had. Maybe I think about 5. I was raised by a single mother anyway. I guess I kind of got, and in my maternal family there, because in the Cayman Islands historically, men went away to sea. And so the women were left, you rightly know, the women were left to raise the families. And so we grew up seeing that resilience in women anyway.
The men were the seafarers.
Right. And then as Cayman evolved and people started to gravitate towards the island, and then we no longer became the islands that time forgot. And so I saw my mother also was a single parent, and so I saw that resilience there, and
Yes.
I couldn't help but to grow to become that woman,
Yeah. Exactly.
and it's
You
been
didn't have a
very
lot of choice.
rewarding.
You didn't have a lot of choice. You saw a
Yes,
lot of strength in
absolutely,
your
yes,
life, and you saw a can do attitude,
yes,
I can attitude. Like
yes.
we got to do this. We have to do this,
You
and
don't have a choice,
no
otherwise,
choice.
yes, you don't
Exactly.
survive, and until you have dependents who are depending on you. We both know that um, immensely what that feels like. That
Absolutely.
even when we feel we couldn't be resilient, or we wanted to give up. When I was moving to school, I didn't even consider leaving my kids behind.
Yeah.
My older daughter decided to stay because she had just turned 18, but I dragged my two other
Yes.
kids with me because I wanted to be that woman. I wanted to be that person, and it didn't matter what it takes. And my
Yeah.
children were able to, like your children, go through the journey with you. They saw
Yeah.
the ups and downs and the failures and the successes, and
Absolutely.
we
Yeah.
and I think that that's what contributed to our children becoming who they are today.
I call my children my handbags. I couldn't go nowhere without these handbags, my purses. They were my purse. But and it's funny because of that, what they, at least with mine, what they saw, they had no excuses. So
Right.
when they were going to college, it was like if they ever sighed too hard, I'll be like, "You got 3 kids? Okay, so you're good." You're going to school. You got 3 kids to worry about? No. Okay. So go to school.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and it's funny because they'll say that now, like it's true. Like, what was
Mm-hmm.
my excuse? Like, exactly. If I could do it with 3 kids, you're going to be able, you can do it. I'm
Do it.
here. I want to
Yes.
support you, but I don't want to hear it. If you don't have 3 kids struggling, you'll
Yes.
be okay. And I think that sometimes those little realities are what really helps our children to, kind of be on track to say, yeah, we also have the strength within us, and we're also going to make our way in the world and be incredible people so that we can contribute to the society.
Yes.
I definitely want to thank you for coming on today. There's so much more that we can talk about.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so we'll probably have you come on again. But tell everybody where they can find you if they're looking for you. They want to see some more, because you do a lot of little videos and stuff, and you're so funny. You're really just a very funny person.
I'm funny looking, camera shy.
You're very funny.
But,
You're very funny.
I'm more used to speaking on the radio. Back when, before tech blew up as it has, I used to write a lot of letters in the papers and stuff like that. But I am on YouTube. Well, I'm on Instagram and Facebook under my name, Patricia Bryan, and I also had a talk show, Legal Talk with Patricia Bryan. So I have pages under my name and pages under the talk shows, named Legal Talk with Patricia Bryan, on Instagram and Facebook. And I have a YouTube and what's this other one? TikTok that they're trying to get rid of. Small TikTok and YouTube channels under Legal Talk with Patricia Bryan also.
Okay, great.
Kind of give a synopsis into what I've
So
been doing.
what we will ask you is, when your episode is ready to come out, we will let you know, of course. We'll share the link, and we want you to share us with your community.
I definitely, absolutely, I would do that.
Like, follow, share,
Yeah.
and just we want to beat that big drum so that all the ladies are like, yes, that's where I want to be. I want to be a part of that. I want to be in good company where I'm going to get good advice and good support, and get through this journey. Because honestly, we sit here on this side of it, and that's amazing. And there are a lot of people that are not on this side yet, and they might not know what this side could look like, and they might be frightened, or they might be they might not have that hope, right? Because things can look very bleak, and we remember the bleak days, and there were many bleak days, but we got through them. And so that's what's important, getting through them, with hope in your heart, with a smile on your face, and staying blessed, and understanding that, you are being carried and you have it in you. You have that resilient strength in you, and you just have to remember that every day as you go about your journey. So
Yeah.
we want ladies to join the community so that we can do that. I want to thank you so much once again
Thank
for
you so
joining
much.
us. Thank you for
Thank you so
joining
much for having me. I appreciate you thinking of me, Catherine. And
Absolutely.
the what is the program? What podcast is this
The
again? I'm
Resilient
sorry.
Mother, the Resilient
Resilient
Mother
Mother.
podcast. Yes.
Thank you for inviting me on and having me be a guest. And so I look forward to you guys letting me know when
Yes, we will for
event is
sure.
going
And
to be.
Tiffany doesn't know this, but I think we are going to be planning a retreat in the Cayman Islands, and we're going to just get a
I
whole
hope so.
band. But absolutely, I'm telling you, like
It would have been good if they could do it before April 30th, because we might be able to get the Department of Tourism to do something promotional. You
oh
never
wow.
know.
Well, you never know. You might be able. You might
Yes.
be able to talk to you. You got people.
I, I can try, but I
one,
think
one of those
anything
five.
I
One of
think
those
anything
five
that
that your
makes
mom
them.
raised.
Yes, anything that makes the Cayman Islands look good, make the Department of Tourism and the Ministry of Tourism look good. I think they would go for it. And I know this podcast host, they would love to come down to the Cayman
That's
Islands.
awesome. Yes, we will talk more. We definitely will talk more. Tiffany and I will talk
Yes.
more about that as well.
Okay.
As Tiffany would say, I believe in you, believe in yourself. God bless. I want to
God
say,
bless.
get out of your own way. I also want to say, you have it in you, and don't be afraid to stand your ground and fight for what you believe in. Your children deserve it. The world deserves it. And
Yes.
we are here for it.
Use your voice as a resilient mother.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you
you
guys
so
for
much.
having me.
All right.
Okay.
Take care.
Good
You have a
night.
good day. Okay, bye.
Thank you for joining us today. Please don't forget to subscribe so we can share this message. We are a worldwide podcast with guests all around the world, and we want to continue to grow this community. You can find us on socials. You could also be a guest. Look for that link below if you'd be interested in being a guest on the podcast. If you know a sponsor or would like to be a sponsor, please reach out to me or Catherine as well.
Sure. We want you all on this journey. We want to hear your stories. We want to share your stories. We want to gain strength from each other, because together we're stronger. And to never forget the blessing of being a mother and what we're creating. We're creating the future every single day of our lives. So get on this train with us and let's do this thing, moms.
I believe in you. Believe in yourself. God bless. And we'll see you around. Take care.